Hello Royal Watchers, welcome back to the channel and of course welcome to my home. Today I am going to be doing catching up on some royal stories that I haven't even previewed myself. I have been away for a few days in London where I walked past Buckingham Palace for the first time since King Charles became king, walked through St James's Park, I've seen the National Portrait Gallery, the British Museum, I've had a fantastic time. But I didn't really catch up on any of the royal stories. So that's what this video is going to be about. Me reacting and commenting on the news in basically real time. So the first story that I kind of pulled up, I'm going to go through some kind of news articles and then I don't know how long this video will be. Maybe I'll split it into a few pieces to put out over the next few days. But the first story that caught my eye, and I haven't read it yet, but it's about Bucklebury's first family are under attack over their collapsed firm's unpaid bills. So who is the poison poster prowler stalking the Middleton's idyllic village? Now, of course, this story has to be about Mr. and Mrs. Middleton, of course, the Princess of Wales's parents, and of course the collapse of their party pieces business, which suffered massively under lockdown. There was also a scandal where they took out some COVID loans during that period. Anyway, they went bust and they owed millions to creditors. So it looks like the creditors are striking back. So the village has been plagued by a poster campaign targeting the Middletons. Oh, how embarrassing. I would be absolutely embarrassed. I mean, just imagine, I live in a village and just imagine there's cats running around as well. So if you hear cat noise, you know what it is. I live in a village and I can't even begin to imagine the embarrassment if people started putting posters about me throughout the whole village. That would be horrendous. So nestling amid the rolling North Wessex Downs and barely touched by the passing centuries, it's hard to imagine a more peaceful or idyllic place to live than one of the timber-clad villages of rural West Berkshire. Now, of course, the Middletons don't come from, a lot of money. A lot of what, Catherine's parents have done has been because of their own hard work, their own ambition. Of course, they had humble, kind of middle-class-ish beginnings. And of course, they made millions from their party pieces business. So the village is kind of, I suppose, a bit of a family affair. Pippa moved in, James Middleton moved not very far away. I mean, if ever Prince William, when he becomes king, wishes to make the Middletons have some kind of earldom or dukedom or some kind of title, which is still not beyond the realm of possibility, I must say, then perhaps, the Earl of Bucklebury, the Duke of Bucklebury, I mean, I don't know, could be something to be explored. But anyway, there appears to be a sinister and mysterious new chapter in the parish. My goodness, rural life. There's been a malicious poster campaign. So there's been dozens of them placed. There is a handy photo with a map of where they've been placed, but I am going to zoom in on it and read it. So it says justice for creditors, and there's been a section blurred out. So, Bucklebury, Party Pieces Holdings Limited owes its creditors £2.5 million, including £831,435 to Her Majesty's, or His Majesty's now, Revenues and Customs and Government Loan. Yes, folks, that's taxpayer money. Petition the Insolvency Service, then there's more details. The future Kings-in-Laws screwing its creditors, shameful, cough up, and then there's more information that's been blurred out. Right, I mean, it is, I suppose, could be classed as a malicious letter. Factual parts of it, of course, are that Party Pieces does owe creditors £2.5 million, including that amount to HMRC, and they did indeed take out a government loan. Yeah, it's one of those things where the Middletons are playing it by the law. There are many, many, many businesses that went bust during the pandemic, especially, parties. The name of the game, they are party pieces, and people were definitely not having parties, apart from if you were at number 10 Downing Street. Then most definitely you probably could supply some party pieces. But anyway, the business went bust, and under normal UK law, and insolvency regulations and laws and rules, all the rest of it, they don't technically have to sell any of their private assets that are not attached to that business, like their home or any savings. Now, people will be looking at this and going, that's really unfair, because they do have a wealth of money. They are very rich individuals who probably could afford to pay back 2.5 million, or what's owed in tax, and the government loan. They more than likely, I would imagine, have those assets to pay back. However, it's the rule of, well, one rule for one rule for another. How do you apply the law? The rules and the laws are there for a reason. If you applied that sort of rule and law to the Middletons, then you would have to apply it to everyone else as well. So, another person's business could have gone bust during lockdown, and they could have a really modest house, that's just basically just a roof over their heads, that potentially could be liable to be taken away if you apply that logic to the Middletons to everyone else. So that's why I don't think they have been chased for that, because one, it's within the law for them to keep their own private assets. And number two, point two, you would have to then, in the interests of fairness, apply that logic and that reasoning to everybody else as well, which then might actually not be terribly fair, because somebody could have legitimately had a business that went bust, even though they tried really, really hard. And do you really want to then take their children's home from their heads? It's one of those kind of catch-22 situations. If you do what you do for one, you should do for another. It's the situation where, the rich, unfortunately, don't always feel it as much as you and I, on the ground, normal civilians who earn, average earnings, and just make enough to get by and provide for yourself and your family. It's always the people at the top that get by, and it's always the people at the bottom and the people in the middle that get basically done over. And I think that is what this is a case of. But like I've just pointed out, you have to look at the implications of going after the Middletons for this money when it's not legally their responsibility to pay it out of things that aren't secured to the business. It has wider implications across the country, and it could actually negatively affect people who really do need help a lot more than what it's going to do for the Middletons. Now, morally, it's a completely different issue. Morally, the Middletons could decide voluntarily to pay back their creditors. That's a different issue altogether. Legally, they're not required to pay it back, but morally, they could decide to do so. Harry and Meghan morally made the decision to pay back the money for Frogmore Cottage. That was their own decision to do so. They were not chased by it by the then Queen, Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. They weren't chased by that money by the Crown Estates, but they voluntarily paid it back. The Middletons could do the same if they wanted to. Drop me a comment in the comment section below. What do you think about this situation? And do you think that it would be right for them to morally make a contribution and pay that back? So the posters have been positioned to attract maximum attention. And of course, it's garnered maximum attention because it's made the news. And they've appeared close to shops, churches, and other public amenities. Outraged residents, who for the most part are protective of their royally connected neighbours, have not seen the individual responsible and have certainly been doing their best to rip down the offending posters as fast as they appear. So they're being taken down and someone's putting them back up straight away. They have been joined by no one other than the furious James Middleton himself, who the Mail has learned dashed into Yattendon village stores and post office earlier this month after one was seen stuck to the sycamore tree outside. So even James Middleton is going in. It said that he was not happy and wanted to know if we had seen any more. He wanted them taken down. Postmaster Eugene Smith adds, there were lots of these posters all over the area and I removed every single one. I am not going to tolerate this in our village. The family have been here for years. They are great citizens. This just doesn't wash. So who on earth would do something so dastardly? And why are they targeting? Well, we know why they're targeting the Middletons, who are held in such affection in the area. Well, they're obviously not from the area. They're obviously very angry creditors and definitely not villagers. So this week, hot on the heels of the fly posting Phantom, the publication that I'm reading from took a trip to this charming rural enclave and found tongues wagging. Oh, I love that. Tongues wagging in a village. I love it. Concerned and baffled villagers. I don't know how anybody could do something so cruel, says an elderly lady living near the cricket pitch. Well, it's because they're owed money, of course. Whoever is behind it, whispers another villager, must know that Yattendon is a favourite spot for the Middletons. James and his parents are regular customers at the well-stocked village store, and long before her daughter married into the royal family, Carol Middleton was an occasional visitor to Adam and Eve Hair in the village square. Well, there you go. If you want your hair done like Carol Middleton, get yourself down there now. Right. Hang on. The posters, one of which the publication has seen, would certainly suggest that someone has an axe to grind. No kidding. Of course they've got an axe to grind. While parts of the text, as I said, cannot be repeated for legal reasons, the wording calls for justice for creditors. So clearly referring to the shock collapse 4 months ago, the Middleton's mail order party supplies company. Whoever penned the unpleasant poster clearly believes that the couple, who have no personal responsibility for the debts because of the structure of their company, which is what I spoke about, their personal assets are not attached to the business, should cough up anyway. Victoria Fullerton, wife of former Stanford Dingley Parish Councillor, spotted one of the now infamous posters on a tree and said, "My husband took it down straight away. It's just not the sort of thing we want around the village. I can only assume that whoever did it had lost some money." Well, of course, it's an angry creditor. Anyway, will we find out who the Phantom poster is? I'm not so sure we'll ever get to the bottom of it. Will the Middletons cough up and pay back the money on moral grounds? I kind of don't think they will. I mean, if you've got a choice, a few £1 million or not. Anyway, it's up to them. Do and be judged as they see fit, basically. But yes, let me know your thoughts and comments on this rather curious situation. Right, so the next story that I'm going to talk about in this video is actually one, I think it could have even been from today. I'm a little bit behind, like I said, with all of my days. This one is about Queen Camilla. Now, we saw at the Mansion House King Charles III speech that the Queen debuted one of Her late Majesty's tiaras, the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, and she also kind of debuted some earrings and a necklace as well. So I thought that looked really stunning. Some people commented that maybe they thought that she'd had the tiara widened, because it did look a little bit more kind of splayed, if you like. I can't think of a better word. It looked more kind of splayed, more kind of out on her head, wider on her head than it looked on Her late Majesty's. Maybe that's a kind of optical illusion, because of Her Majesty's hair was always so kind of perfect and kind of curled in that style that became synonymous with her. Camilla's hair is a lot more bigger, boomfier, and she does kind of suit the more statuesque tiaras. So perhaps the frame was perhaps widened and altered slightly for her head. But that is not the only piece of jewellery that the Queen is debuting, previously worn jewellery by Her late Majesty. Today, I think it was today, Queen Camilla shined in an emerald ensemble as she arrived at Ascot for a day of horse racing and pays a subtle tribute to Her late Majesty with a diamond encrusted jockey brooch. Now, of course, I'll show it on the screen. I do love it when Camilla, the Queen, is wearing and bringing out some of these pieces of jewellery. Now, this brooch, this horse brooch, was actually a gift for Her late Majesty's 90th birthday. And it features a diamond encrusted steed being mounted by a jockey. The brooch was gifted, as I said, to Her late Majesty for her 90th birthday and passed on to fellow horse racing enthusiast Queen Camilla following her death. Well, that's not quite technically true. It wasn't passed on to Queen Camilla. It's all the jewellery, all the tiaras, they're all owned by King Charles III. Obviously, the Queen Consort, Queen Camilla, gets use of them. I don't really think that His Majesty is going to wear a tiara or anything of that nature. So technically it's not owned by Camilla. Camilla cannot pass any of these jewels on to her own family in her will. These are part of the King's collection that will be passed down to Prince William, the Prince of Wales, when he becomes king, and then worn by Catherine, the Princess of Wales. So it can't be kind of passed on. But I do think let's just take a moment to look how stunning the Queen looks. That gorgeous emerald outfit. She always has such fabulous millinery. Her hats always look impeccable. And that brooch just finishes off the outfit perfectly. I'd love to see more brooches being worn by Catherine. Now, Catherine does wear brooches. She has worn brooches on many occasions, but I like to see the more bigger, more flamboyant brooches rather than the kind of pin type things. And I do think that for day wear on these really gorgeous, elegant kind of princess coats, I think a brooch really finishes off a look. And I would love to see Catherine delving into the royal jewel box and having a few more brooches on long-term or even short-term loan for certain events. For example, Her late Majesty's flower basket brooch. I love that one, and I can't wait to see that being worn as well. I think it's such a shame when jewellery is kind of hidden away, not used, and I think that these kinds of items, they are there to be seen, they're there to be worn, they're there to be used. We want to see them. It brightens up our day. I'm not bothered how much they're worth. It doesn't affect me. They aren't going to be sold, so it doesn't really matter. It's just a little bit of glitz, a little bit of glam that's going to brighten up the day. And I love to see how the new generations of royals kind of use these pieces of jewellery that have been in the family, some of them for generations and generations and generations. So it's really nice to see a kind of switch up. The Queen met jockey Frankie Dettori, I do believe that is. And of course, it's really nice to see the Queen out and about indulging in her passion for horses, which of course she shared with Her late Majesty. So let me know your thoughts and comments on Camilla's whole ensemble. Let me know what you think about royal jewels being worn. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, then please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and of course do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.